When trying to find the inverse of a function, we can get f inverse by interchanging the roles of x and y in f. That means when y equals f of x, we're going to change it to x equals f of y. Fancy way of just saying that means we're just going to take x and let it be y, and then we're going to take y and let it become x. Once we do that, we solve the new function for y, and the resulting function that is obtained is the inverse function that we call y equals f inverse of x. So again, that kind of sounds a little bit confusing, but let's see it in practice, and I think you'll find it's not too bad. So we're going to find the inverse function of f of x equals 3x. First thing you should do is take f of x, and let's call it y instead. So y equals 3x. Simple and easy. Now we're going to rewrite this whole thing here, except y is going to become x, and x is going to become y. So when we do that, we're going to get x equals 3y, just like that. We have now interchanged x and y, and now we're going to solve for y. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and I'm going to get x over 3 equals y. And this is my inverse function, and since it is, I'm going to get rid of y, and I'm actually going to say that it's f inverse of x to signify that this is the inverse function. And that's all you do. Let's do it again for this one. F of x equals 4x plus 2. First things first, write it out as y equals 4x plus 2. Take this function, and I'm going to replace all the x's with y's and all the y's with x's. So instead of y equals, it's going to be x equals, and instead of 4x, it's going to be 4y plus 2. Now I have interchanged x and y. Time to solve for y. So I'm going to subtract 2 over. So I'm going to get x minus 2 equals 4y. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 4. So I'm going to get x minus 2 divided by 4 equals y. Now that I have y by itself, I no longer need it to be y. So I'm going to get rid of y, and I'm going to write it as f inverse of x. And this is my inverse function. Just as an aside, if you decide to put f inverse of x on this side and write it like that, it means the same thing. I just replaced y on the right side because that's where it was, but if you want to move it to the left side, it's the exact same thing. So really dealer's choice at that point. Here is f of x equals x cubed minus 1. So y equals x cubed minus 1. Going to switch the x and y's now. So we're going to have x equals y cubed minus 1. And now we're going to solve for y. Add 1 over. X plus 1 equals y cubed. And now I'm going to take the cube root of both sides to get rid of the cubed here. So it's going to be cube root of x plus 1 equals y. Now that I again have y by itself, I'm just going to change this out to f inverse of x. And here is my inverse function for this equation. Let's do it one more time, but this one's a little bit odd. F of x equals negative 3 over x. So I'm going to take y, set it equal to negative 3 over x. I'm going to take my x and y's and switch them, so it's going to become x equals negative 3 over x. Oh, negative 3 over y, excuse me. Got ahead of myself there. So now I'm going to solve for y, so I'm going to multiply the y over. So I'm going to get xy equals negative 3. And then to get y by itself, I'm going to divide the x over. So y equals negative 3 over x. And since I now have y solved for, I no longer need y. I can call this f inverse of x. And you may have noticed that the inverse function is the same as the original function. That's all right. As long as we follow our steps, what we get is what we get. And if it's the same thing as the original, then that's A-okay.